Big spoilers for Joker are ahead. Seriously, these are some pretty big spoilers. In the new film Joker, it's maybe kind of revealed that Thomas Wayne is Joker's father, making Bruce Wayne, Batman, his brother. So let's talk about if this is true and what that would mean symbolically for the character's 80-year rivalry. This is Screen Crush. So first, let's break down whether or not this is actually true. In the film, Arthur's mother Penny spent years working as a housekeeper for the Wayne family. She claims that she and Thomas were in love and Arthur is his illegitimate child. She also says that Thomas was a good man, even though he sent her away to prevent a scandal. This narrative that Thomas was a good man is important because it's how we, the audience, have always perceived Thomas Wayne. He's always portrayed as being a decent, unselfish human being.
But the city's been suffering. People less fortunate than us have been enduring very hard times.
But just as the movie Joker proposes that the villain was actually a victim, so too it proposes that Thomas was actually a son of a bitch. Penny has written Thomas letter after letter asking for financial help, but he doesn't acknowledge her. When Arthur discovers the truth, he confronts Thomas, who responds by punching him in the face. Thomas also tells him that his mother was insane, and here's the kicker, Arthur is actually adopted. He steals files from Arkham State Hospital, where his mother was committed, and discovers more shocking truths. According to the file, Penny let an old boyfriend beat Arthur while he was chained to a radiator. This gave Arthur brain damage that caused his mental condition. He also finds an adoption certificate and paperwork from an orphanage, which seems to collaborate Thomas's story. But then later, he finds a photograph of his mother as a young woman with an inscription reading, "I love your smile," and it's signed by T.W., Thomas Wayne. So, if Penny was delusional, why would Thomas be writing her romantic messages? The photo of young Penny seems to contradict Thomas's story. In the film, Thomas is shown to be incredibly wealthy, ambitious, and kind of an a-hole. So it would make sense if he hid the existence of an illegitimate child to protect his marriage, his business, and his future political career. It's even possible that he hired doctors to give Penny shock treatments to scramble her memory and used his connections to fake Arthur's adoption certificate. But Arthur's also about as unreliable as a narrator can get. He hallucinates an entire relationship with his neighbor. One of his co-workers gives him a gun, but later his boss says that he asked for the gun. Is the co-worker lying, or is this another incident that Arthur imagined? So his mother could be telling the truth, and Thomas Wayne could be the ultimate power broker and manipulator. Or his mother could be a mentally ill liar, and Arthur could just be an orphan that she took in. Or neither scenario could be true and Arthur imagines the whole movie while suffocating inside a fridge. Ultimately, Batman and Joker being related is in the eye of the beholder, sort of like whether or not you think a joke is funny.
I'm crazy enough to take on Batman, but the IRS, no, thank you.
But for this video, let's assume that Joker and Batman are brothers and look at what that says about the movie and what these characters represent. Thomas Wayne created the Joker, literally by being his father, but also figuratively by being part of a corrupt system that marginalizes the poor and mentally ill. He's running for mayor to lift people out of poverty, but he won't lend a cent of his vast fortune to help his mentally ill son. He even dismisses the underclass as clowns. The movie also implies that Thomas created Joker in a more direct way. What if he was actually the boyfriend who beat Arthur and gave him brain damage? We've seen that he's violent with no provocation when he punches Arthur. So maybe he gave him such a severe beating when he was a child that he actually faked adoption papers to get rid of the kid. Arthur says more than once in the movie that he was never sure if he actually existed. And in many ways, he's not the real, original Arthur because of the brain damage he received as a child. But Thomas also legally erased him from existence. Documents like doctor reports and adoption papers are like the memory of governments. If the government doesn't remember Arthur exists, then he has no place within that government. This is also a metaphor for Gotham City pretending that poor people don't exist, when they cut funding to social programs like Arthur's psychiatric visits. So now let's talk about Batman.
I'm Batman. I'm Batman. I'm Batman. I'm Batman.
If Arthur Fleck is the son that Thomas never wanted, then Bruce Wayne is the opposite. He's the legitimate heir to the Wayne fortune. A handsome, bright boy surrounded by wealth and opportunity. While Arthur lives in the city in poverty, Bruce lives far removed, upstate, with his own frickin' playground. Bruce Wayne became Batman after watching his family get gunned down. But if he were a poor kid instead of a billionaire, he might have ended up a criminal instead. He could have become Arthur Fleck. It's an old cliche for the hero and villain to be not so different.
Are we so different, you and I?
You and I are not so different.
We're not so different, you and I.
We're not so different after all.
But Batman and the Joker are perfectly both alike and also nothing alike. Batman represents fascism, the idea that it takes one strong man to steer society in a positive direction. For instance, in The Dark Knight, he creates a secret network of cameras to spy on Gotham's citizens. While Joker represents disorder, the idea that people are so evil at their core that no society could ever actually function.
Introduce a little anarchy.
upset the established order, and everything becomes chaos.
But look at how these characters are alike. They both operate outside of the law and can never actually be a part of society.
To them, you're just a freak. Like me.
In Joker, Penny tells Arthur that he's meant to spread joy and laughter to the world, but he ultimately spreads fear, while Batman seeks to inspire fear but ultimately creates hope. Their duality is also reflected in their origin stories. Joker kills a surrogate father, Murray Franklin, and his actual father, Thomas Wayne, is killed by a surrogate Joker. In The Dark Knight, Batman has inspired imitators, while in Joker, it's Arthur who inspires people to wear a mask and fight corruption. But in Joker, the mob lashes out in anger. They want to see the city burn, not save it from crime. This violent mob rule marks the finale of the film, ultimately resulting in the deaths of Thomas and Martha Wayne and the creation of Batman. So, Batman can't exist without the mob, and the mob can't exist without the Joker. The two characters will be forever linked. This is kind of like Tim Burton's Batman, when the hero dropped Jack Napier in a vat of acid, and Jack Napier originally killed Batman's parents.
You made me. I made you. You made me first.
But Joker shows Batman's origin in a new light. Now, instead of a senseless random act, the murder of the Waynes was a targeted attack. It's the lower classes taking their revenge for being neglected. Thomas was responsible for his own death. He was killed by the madness gripping the city, which was inspired by the madness of his son, which he created through neglect and abuse. Joker's implying that Batman's way of operating, by fighting criminals, isn't effective. To create lasting change, you need to attack the root of the problems: poverty, wealth inequality, and mental health treatment. Batman has been caught up in a cycle of violence ever since the day his parents were gunned down. So it doesn't matter if Bruce Wayne and Arthur Fleck are literal brothers. They represent two sides of humanity that will always be at odds with each other: joy and fear, hope and despair, order and chaos.
I think you and I are destined to do this forever.
So what do you think? Are the two brothers, or is this just a lame plot point? Let me know in the comments below. And if it's your first time here, please subscribe. For Screen Crush, I'm Ryan Arey.